Green eyeshadow is one of my favorite colors to wear, and I thought with St. Patrick's Day coming up, what better time to share with you guys some of my favorite green eyeshadow palettes in my collection. I have some drugstore, some indie brands, and everything in between. If you guys are interested in hearing my thoughts, then just keep watching because we are about to get started. Welcome to my channel. If this is your first time here, hi, my name is Heather Eaglin. I love all things makeup, especially colorful makeup and indie brands. And if you guys love those things too, I really hope you will subscribe, click the little bell so you can be notified of all my future uploads. So I considered ranking these palettes, but some of these are not all green palettes, so it didn't really feel fair. I will point out my favorites once we reach them, but I'm just gonna jump in and show you guys what I have. So if you're watching this video to get inspiration for a St. Patrick's Day look, I want to show you guys 4 palettes in my collection, all by one brand, that are not green palettes, but they are palettes you may already have in your collection, and they do have green in them. And if you just need some inspiration, I wanted to point them out. But those are my BLENDBUNNY Cosmetics palettes. I really enjoy these bigger type palettes because typically you get a ton of shades in them. Here I have the BLENDBUNNY Sugar and Grunge, and each one of these has a green row. So if you have them all, you could just mix and come up with a really fun look. But here we have this really beautiful row, and this would be good for someone who likes more of that neutral green, maybe not so much a poppy one. And the same can be said for this one. This is the MACHINA palette that they just recently came out with. But you have these beautiful greens. This one up here is a little yellow leaning, but you could create such a stunning look with this one. And the same can be said for the Primal. I don't think Primal or Surge is available anymore, but a lot of people already have this in their collection. And this row right here is perfect for a look if you're just looking for inspiration. And the same can be said about the Surge palette. This is more of your true like St. Patrick's Day vibes, but I just wanted to mention these just in case you guys were looking for something maybe that wasn't full on green, but something you might already have in your collection. This next palette is one of my favorites in my collection. It is no longer available, but I think a lot of people have it, or they might have something that they can pull together to create a like build your own palette type of deal. But this is the Odin's Eye and Angelica Nikiva's Hella palette. This palette is freaking stunning. Pinks and greens are not something I ever thought about pairing together, but this palette opened my eyes to so much. I've hit pan in 2 of the shades, and I'm close to pan in several of the others, but I think you could create such a great like St. Patrick's Day look for that with this palette, but this one is truly freaking spectacular. Next is another one from Odin's Eye. I do have a few in here, but we have the Flora Story palette. This was in collaboration with Makeup Just for Fun. Now this is a green and purple eyeshadow palette. As you can see, look at me over here stating the obvious, but you can get such a beautiful look with the green shades in this palette. I think it's so freaking stunning. She outdid herself with this, and you could get some really cute looks with this one. Same can be said for the GLAMLITE Michaela Part 2 palette. This is the bigger one, obviously. Me still stating the obvious, but this would be absolutely perfect for St. Patrick's Day or any other day that you might want a green look. Like I said, I really love green eyeshadow, so for me, they're good every other day of the year just as well. And also I wanted to mention the smaller palette. This palette is so freaking beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful true greens that I have in my collection. It is absolutely stunning. Highly recommend these. They are wonderful. Next, let's talk about a newer palette in my collection, and it is one that I freaking love. It's one of my favorite green palettes that I have. It is the Unearthly Cosmetics Sorcerous Smoke. I do have 2 looks with this palette up on my channel, and I just filmed a reel for Instagram. I will have that linked in the description box or down in the comments, but this palette is truly freaking stunning. You can get some gorgeous neutral looks with this, but you can also get some really gorgeous green looks with this, maybe a little combo of both. It's just such a beautiful palette. I really love the shimmer formulas in here. The mattes are some of my favorites as well, but absolutely love this. And if you plan on picking it up, you can use my code AOML to save 10%. It is affiliated, so if you do use it, I really appreciate it. And since we're already talking about Unearthly, let's talk about the Devour palette. Oh my god, I love this palette. This is one of my favorite palettes that I picked up last year. But if you are a lover of greens, you have this whole bottom row, and you could even use the shade up here. These holochromes in here, they're like toppery shades down here on the end, are absolutely stunning. But I freaking love this palette. I really love these 2 greens right here. They are just spectacular. I really think that she really outdid herself with this. And this is my favorite Unearthly palette in my collection. I truly, truly love it. Another one of my favorite green palettes is the GLAMLITE Dirty Martini. This palette is so freaking spectacular. There's so much more to this than what meets the eye. The pictures truly do not do it justice. The undertones in this palette are absolutely spectacular. I love this so freaking much. If you ever get the opportunity to pick this up, I highly recommend you do. You will not be disappointed. I love this so much. I even bought one for my mom, and she loved it too. It is so freaking good, and I truly could not recommend it more. GLAMLITE just has really good palettes. They have a really good eyeshadow formula, which is why I'm mentioning the Scooby-Doo Part 1. This is the Rutro Raggy palette, but this is what my blue and green dreams are made of. I love this. I think it is beautiful. I love the mix of the blues and greens. They're some of my favorite color combos to wear. I just think this palette is freaking spectacular. I really love this black and green here on the corner. I just think this palette is freaking beautiful. Let me know if you guys have any of these in your collection. And at this very moment, this is the only Huda Beauty palette that I have. I had more, but I did declutter them. This is the Wild Python. I think this palette is so beautiful. You can see my favorite shade is this like neon green down here. It's kind of like a yellow green, but I think this palette is beautiful. I had so much fun working with it. It's been in my collection for a few years. And to be honest, it's been a minute since I used it. So now I'm kind of wanting to pull it back out. But I just love this so much. I don't really like a lot of Huda Beauty's palettes because the color stories just typically do not speak to me. But that one did. And I picked it up as soon as I saw it. This is one of my favorite ColourPop palettes I have in my collection. It is the In the Limelight. I don't know why they discontinued this, but they truly need to bring it back. This palette is absolutely beautiful, but this palette is so beautiful. I really enjoyed the formulas in here. I love how it goes from really light to really dark. I love this khaki shade down here as well. I just had so much fun working with this. To me, this is a standout palette, especially for ColourPop. And then the same can be said about the Child palette from ColourPop. This is more for that neutral or khaki-like green. If you're looking for a look like that, this is super beautiful. I really love that they put the like golden Super Shock up here at the top. I think this palette is really beautiful, and it's really on trend for everyone who is loving the cool tones right now. This is one of my favorite Lethal Cosmetics palettes in my collection. I'm pretty sure it is called the Metamorphosis. I could be wrong. They don't put their names on their palettes, and I really wish they would, but this palette is absolutely stunning. Now, it's more than just a green palette, but it is mostly green. This palette is stunning. I really enjoy the Lethal Cosmetics formula. I would love to get into some more of their releases this year if they come out with some stuff that I feel interested in, but I really enjoyed working with this one. Really great palette. It is still available as well. Now, this next one is totally not a palette that was made for St. Patrick's Day, but it could really work for one. We have the Odin's Eye Merry Christmas palette. This palette is super beautiful, but if you take this away and you look at the top two rows, this definitely could be used to get a St. Patrick's Day look. Really beautiful. I missed out on this the first year when they released it, I think Christmas of 2022, and I was so happy that they re-released them in 2023 and I was able to pick them back up. I had so much FOMO over these palettes, but I love this. I think this color story is absolutely beautiful. It's a palette that I really want to get more use out of and play with more. I just think it is so freaking stunning. Now, these next two are from the same brand. They are not full-on green palettes, but they have a ton of greens in them. We have the Cosmic Beauty Muse palette. This palette is so beautiful. I love this so much. To me, it feels like the big sister palette to this palette from Odin's Eye. I think it's so beautiful. I mean, yeah, this one has a ton more shades, but you could totally get similar looks out of this palette as you can this one. This palette is so beautiful. You could do so many fun looks, especially for this holiday with this one. I just think their quality is impeccable. I really love them. And the same with the Serenity palette. This is the first one I picked up from the brand, but this one has a bunch of greens and more turquoise type shades. You even have the more neutral greens like the Army greens. Love this shade up here so much, but this is such a great palette. This palette is the reason that I wanted to try more from this brand. It was their second release, and I now own 6 of their 7 palettes, and I love them so much. If the first palette was still available, I would probably own that one too. But you could do so many great looks for this time of the year with a palette like this, especially with springtime approaching. A lot of these palettes would be beautiful for the spring and the summer. Me personally, I don't do my makeup based on the season. I just use the seasons to inspire my makeup, if that makes sense. I know a lot of us feel that way, but not everybody. But that is it for today's video. That is all of my favorite palettes, my go-tos for greens. Now, I have a lot more palettes that have greens in them, but I wanted to pull things out that had more than just a few greens. So these are my favorites, my ones with my go-tos. Now is your time to let me know down below, what are your go-to palettes when you're searching for greens in your collection? I would love to hear your thoughts. If there are any other colors you guys would like to see me do this type of video for, or not even colors, but vibes like grungy or stuff like that, just let me know. I would love some ideas. I would really appreciate it. If you watch this video all the way to the end, I appreciate you so much. If you liked it, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. I did film this look, but it is a surprise video, so I don't want to say what it's for. But if it's already up, I will have it linked in my description box. But thank you guys again so much. And until next time, bye.